Hey guys, welcome back. We got a different background than we've had in the past. We're here at Crimson Cliffs High School in St. George, Utah, and I got my buddy Justin Abbott here with us. He's the coach of Crimson baseball team, and you've been the coach here since inception, really, but we were talking off camera like we don't really count the first year because it was a COVID year.
Yeah, we don't count that year.
But I knew Justin way back. I graduated from Snow Canyon High School back in 2010, and you were still playing semi-pro ball. I think at the time, and you would come and pitch to us, and we would go and try and hit off of you in batting practice. I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever really got a hit off of you.
Actually, I remember it was putting in work, but I hated throwing to high school kids.
Really?
Oh yeah, you guys used to get lit up all the time, man. Maybe really think about like what I wanted to do anymore. Like, I'm gonna stop doing this, man.
But that's how I remember you, and you used to hang out with us, and I thought, here's this dude that's older than me, that's bigger than me, that's, bigger places than me, but you just felt like a homie back then.
Yeah.
And that was 14 years ago. And since then, you've been a coach at Snow Canyon for a little bit. You went to Dixie for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then you got offered the job here.
Yeah.
And then you guys since have won 2 state championships in 5 years.
2, yep. 2,
we'll say 4.
Yeah,
you didn't even have a chance the first year.
No.
So you're 50%.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good percentage.
That's a pretty good percentage, yeah.
Especially in baseball, it's 500.
You should retire. All right, this podcast is over. No, I mean, and it's a competitive sport in Southern Utah, especially. Like, I think we were talking the other day that you were telling me out of the last 11 years, 10 of them have been won. The state championship has been won by a team down here in Southern Utah.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. It's pretty close. Yeah,
which I've always felt that way, that Southern Utah just has crazy good baseball players.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ever since I can think about it, I remember coming and playing here when I was in high school, thinking like, man, these guys are good. These guys are tough. I remember playing against Brock Jacobson over at Snow Canyon, and I was like, that guy's legit, and had a successful career. I don't know. I guess you can go around the state and be like, oh man, this region's tough and this school's tough. But I mean, year in and year out, it just seems like there's some dudes coming out of Southern Utah.
And this year, you guys are stacked. Like, you guys have a good team this year. You won it last year. Mm-hmm. Snow Canyon is also tough. Dixie's tough.
Yeah. Everybody, man. Like, Pine View's playing well right now. Hurricane's playing, decent. Desert Hills has a tough team. I mean, it's a weekly thing where you're like, it's going to be a grind.
And you've lost 2 games, but they were, like, in extras and by, like, 1, like, barely. You could easily be undefeated right now.
Yes. Well, we lost 4. One was a slugfest here. One was another extra inning game against Payson. The other one, we dropped our first game of the season, 1-run game down at Desert Oasis in Vegas. And then Desert Hills got us here at our place. And we split with them that week. And that was a battle. Too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough baseball for sure in this part of the country in general. But with this year and everything going on, I mean, there's so much to talk about you as a person. I'll say this on camera. I think everybody just likes Justin. I don't know anybody that doesn't like you. And I know you're probably like going in your mind like that parent that you don't get like their kid in the game enough or whatever, but that's different.
Yeah.
That's biased. If you don't have any bias towards you, like, you just like you. Like, everybody's just going to like you because I feel like you have a personality where you can be fun and interactive with the kids, but at the same time, like, hey, like, it's down to business at the same time. You have both. And I think that's special for a coach to have, and you care about the kids. So today I kind of wanted to just talk about your approach to team building and like what's made you successful, especially taking a new school and somehow in a very difficult part of Utah, like a tough competitive part of Utah in baseball. Like you were able to steal 2 state championships in the first 4 years of the school. Like, that's insane to me. So how do you do it? Like, how do you build a team where they all come together so quickly and start to win?
So when you say the word build, that's an interesting word because I think when you start talking about a team, it's like, oh, you built a team, but like a lot of people don't talk about the coaches, like the guys that you surround yourself with, like Kyle Boyer, Kansas State, Dixie State, St. Louis Cardinals, Mike Gargano, Dixie State, St. Louis Cardinals, Derek Hassenbeck, our catching coach, 4-year starter at Xavier, catcher. So like, you know, and you could probably say this in the same sense in what you do with real estate. Like you surrounded yourself with people that love to win. They hate losing more than they like winning. And I think that that's what changes it. I mean, those guys are out here all the time. Like Derek's out here doing catching stuff outside of practice. Kyle's out here doing ground ball stuff outside of practice. Our players are calling the coaches and saying, "Hey, Mike, I got to get in the bullpen today. I got to work on some stuff. Do you got some time?" Absolutely. See you down there. So I think that's the biggest difference, and it's no different. Like some of the other schools have great coaches, guys that have been there, been in the trenches that know what it takes to win. So, the guys have put in the work, the players have put in the work, no doubt. But, when you talk about competing in this area, the coaches that you have and the guys that are willing to take some time, and put it back into the players, that's a big difference, man. And it for me, it's like you lean on those guys because you can't do it all.
Yeah.
And man, I'm super grateful. And those guys are my best friends.
Yeah.
I talk to those guys all the time. Their families come over. We spend time with families, like our kids hang out, So, and I think that boils over to success of the kids because they see that like there's a collective goal with us coaches, and we're here to win.
So this question just came in my mind. Did you see that before you picked your coaches, or did it just happen kind of naturally? Like you just attracted it?
No. So actually Kyle was my first phone call, and he knows that. A couple other guys, I don't even know if Kyle kind of like fired back at me. I think Kyle was like, "Man, I was hoping you'd call me."
Really?
And then other guys, I'm like, "Man, I had to take him out to lunch twice. I had to
convince him,
like, hey man, come and be a part of this, like you could, you'd fit in real well." But
so you went after him though.
Yeah.
Kyle was already ready, but you went after the other guys.
There's a couple guys that said, "Hey man, if you need some coaches, like I'd love to come and help out."
Do you get that a lot?
No.
Like, have you said no to a lot of people?
I don't know if I've said no, but sometimes it's like, I don't know if I've got room.
Yeah.
I've got a guy that's doing a great job. I don't need another guy doing the same thing that two things at once. Like, you can easily step on toes sometimes, but the guys we have in place right now, man, are unbelievable.
Yeah.
I remember my very first year coaching at Clearfield in 2011 after I left Snow Canyon.
Yep.
I remember I went to Reed and I said, "Hey, I applied for the head coaching job at Clearfield." And he's like, "You're going, right?" And that was cool too, because Reed, really, from what I felt like, enjoyed having me around, but was like, "Man, you need to get out of here. Go and do it." And maybe he's regretting that. Maybe he's regretting that now. I think we made that connection there. But when I went up there, I had one assistant.
Really?
Yeah, it was me, and I asked a guy that was working with Davis County School District who was helping me out with the field. His little brother and I played high school together, and he jumped on. Jim Cole was his name. And then I did have another guy that helped out, but man, I had me and two other guys.
Yeah.
I think I had a dad helping out. So like when I got down here, that was the first thing I was going to do before I even did anything with the team, is to make sure that I got a staff that's going to build these guys up and show them how to compete.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's talk about your staff at home.
Oh man.
Let's talk about that.
That's my squad.
So how does that play into everything in your success with Carla and your kids?
Man.
And
she, not last night, Saturday night. I'll get through this podcast without crying. Saturday night.
I hope not. I think Carla's going to watch this. So like, hey, my goal is to get him to cry.
So Saturday night, the freshmen were playing here. They played Stansbury at like 5 and 7 o'clock. It kind of rained throughout the whole day, and we got through the first game and like halfway through the second game, and we were upstairs. And I've got a 3-month-old son named Jager, and he was upstairs crying, and Carla and I are sitting up there, and everybody's leaving the field, and I come down here and I lock up the gate, and I do all the stuff that we do before we leave, and I left the lights on for a minute. It's just pouring rain, and the field was like completely soaked. You couldn't see any of it. And like my girls were in the car because they were with us. So they went to the parking lot, got in the car, and Carla and I were just sitting up in the clubhouse, and the speakers were on, and I turned on my phone, and I was playing like rain songs, like that Blind Melon song, just, I don't know. Just, I remember them playing songs like that when I was playing. Like if we were in a rain delay, they would play like a song that had something to do with rain. Anyway, we were just sitting up there, man. I was just looking at the field, and I just looked over and I saw her holding Jager, and I was like, man, this is awesome. And she comes over to me and she goes, I love you, and I love that you're doing this. And so for me, I definitely wouldn't do this if she didn't love it too. And I know sometimes she hates it. I know sometimes she does, and that's me really kind of falling into that. We were talking earlier off campus, just the balance of things. Like I really get into it, and sometimes I forget about some other things that are in the long term, in the long scheme of things, are way more important.
Right.
Way more important. But, my girls know my players by name, and my players know my kids by name. And, I've talked to my players about that, how important that is for me to have that they do feel like family. I mean, if you look on the back of that hat, I got family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's no different. Like I got my family here on the field, and I got my family at home, and in some way, shape, or form, it's all connected.
Yeah.
But without those guys, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was cool how you told me the other day that you have the seniors over every week for breakfast.
Yeah.
And like you said, on the back of the hat, it says family. Like they're just a big extension of your family.
Yeah.
But your core, your family's on board. They love it. They want to be here. And without that, you wouldn't do it. Like if they didn't love it, you can't love everything 100% of the time. I don't think that's even healthy.
Right.
You're probably at some point like deranged. You have some screw loose if you can love something 100% and never have a bad day. And I think that's okay. But just to be able to have that support at home, I think is huge, so that you can go and impact other people and have them over to your house and they feel it and they feel that foundation. I think is cool.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
Yeah. There's no way. I mean, I think that when we were thinking about where we should sit on the field, and when you called me yesterday, I was like, dude, that's a great idea to get out here. Like if you look around this place, like this is one of those places where, and I know you feel the same way, where it's like, oh man, dude, like this place is beautiful.
Yeah.
The smell,
the
look, I remember the successes and the hardships and the things I went through on the field, but it's candid that we're doing it right here at home plate.
Yeah.
Because I think that,
that's cool.
This place is important.
Yeah.
Like it's important here, and it's important, there.
Yeah.
At home. A lot of good things happen right here.
Yeah.
And before every practice, we meet right here. Because, this is the most important place that we have, So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Not switching gears that much. Reed was my coach, Reed Secrist, and I know he's had an impact on you, and I know you guys are really good friends. One of the things that you remind me of, like you always have players back, like you just love the kids, and I feel like Reed is that way. Obviously you both have your own unique way of doing it, but where does that come from for you? Like if I were, like I tried to say at the beginning, and I don't feel like I do it justice, is like you're a big dude, but you're a teddy bear, but you can get fierce and fired up. Yeah. Like you just kind of have this multi-personality, but at the end of the day, I think people just like you. Kids gravitate towards you. They just like being around you. Where does that come from? I know it's kind of hard to talk about yourself, but to the best of your ability, where does that come from? It's important in a coach.
I kind of disagree with you, because I know that there's some people out there.
We can agree to disagree.
Yeah. I know that there's some people out there that I necessarily don't get along with, and that's fine. But I don't know, man. Like, if you were to ask me, we were talking about this off camera earlier, like, I asked you where you thought you were going to be. If you think you would have been here in this spot 14 years ago, and you said, oh, it's bigger than I ever thought.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Shows, how successful you've been, and, the things that you've done. I mean, I don't know if you've talked about this on the podcast, but how you ran 31 miles yesterday on March 31st.
Yeah, no.
Dude, so I think if you were to ask me 20 years ago if I would have been a baseball coach and a teacher, I'd have hell no.
Really?
No, like it's not what I wanted to do. But I think that there's a lot of things in our life that we realized that like this isn't what we wanted to do. But I also had some really good coaches. You know, on one of our T-shirts for practice, we have an ALS sticker. And it's for my coach in high school who's going through a battle with ALS right now, Eric Thompson. And he's a head football coach at Ogden High School. He impacted my life, and he's still continuing to do that to other people, and students and players and all that. So when I decided to be a coach, I kind of wanted to follow in the footsteps of the guys that were influential in my life. You know, Reed's one of those guys. Reed's included in that. But if I was going to do it, I was going to do it like those guys that helped me in my career.
Yeah.
You know, Eric Thompson, the guy, you know, coach I was just talking about, the coach I had in high school. A little bit more reserved, could get fired up, you know. My junior year, before he got there, I had a guy by the name of Dave Hoke. And Dave was, man, that guy was spicy. I mean, fiery. I mean, I remember one guy in the outfield tried to catch a ball, you know, behind his back during BP, and we ran. We
Really?
ran. Oh man. And it was like, so you've got all of these different guys that have impacted you in different ways, and they treat you different, but they don't coach you any different. You know, and then you talk about Reed, man, that guy's louder than 100 people combined in the stands sometimes.
Yeah.
And so when I started coaching, I feel like if I was going to do it, I was going to do it the way that I knew how to do it.
Yeah.
Or how people taught me to do it.
Yeah.
Not, oh man, I should do it this way because, you know, this is what people are doing, or, you know, and, you know, I wear my emotions on my sleeve a little bit, and I probably get after some guys more than I should, but I mean, I want them to leave this program, and I want to see them in 10 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, be able to have those conversations and, you know, and talk about their families or whatever, instead of this, you know, coach didn't do this, or coach didn't do that, or, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there'll be some kids that feel that way, but it comes with
everything that we do, right? There's never a way that we can fully, like, even a business, if you know, a 4.8 star on Google or whatever, 4.9, you're still pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, if you're 90% taking care of everybody, like that's A+, you know.
Right.
Let's talk about the players for a second, though. You know, we kind of set like the foundation of your coaches and your family. The players are the ones that are out here performing at the end of the day. They've got to do the work to be able to win the championships. Like, no matter what you do at the end of the day, if the players don't perform, how are you going to win a championship? If they're not here in the offseason, if they're not practicing, working on themselves. So how much of that do you feel like is you, and how much of it do you feel like is them, and how's that balance? Like, how have you been able to grow the players?
Oh man. You know, I'm a ton of credit to these guys doing this stuff on the off days. You know, we had a game on Friday night here against Cedar, you know, and we didn't do anything on Saturday, and we didn't do anything on Sunday. You know, we usually will give them a couple days off, you know, and then we don't practice tonight until 7. So, you know, they're getting a few days off but yesterday I come out here and I saw 4 or 5 guys hitting, you know, on a Sunday, on Easter.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that comes a whole lot from me, because I'm not telling these guys, you got to go and hit on Sunday. You got to go hit on Saturday.
Yeah. Where does it come from then?
But I think that they feel like, man, if I'm going to make a difference, like I got to put some work in, and I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of the guy that makes a difference. I want to be a part of the, you know, the culture. I want to, because I know that guy's doing the same thing, or that guy across town I know is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And
it's a healthy competition.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who are the guys that set the standard for the region or your team right now, where it's making those lower classmen just like push and work and grind to get there? Who's setting that standard?
Oh man, there's a lot of guys. And I'll say too, like, we got some really good athletes, some really good baseball players. But I think the success that we've had here at Crimson in sports in general the last few years has really been like a tone setter for that extra work, because I got five varsity football players on my baseball team that are getting varsity time or starting every single day. 6, I think, that just won a state championship in football, that played for a state championship the year before. And so not only have they been like pushed in the right direction, that the extra work is pivotal in success, but like winning.
Yeah.
Like, and I said this to the other day to these guys, like there's a ton of like intangibles that you can have as a player, as an athlete. You can hit, you can run, you can throw, you can, hit. I think I said that, but hitting's good. But like tough, man.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing that that doesn't get talked about enough. That is like one of the things I would take over the hitting and the running and the fielding, like if you're tough, dude, you're going to find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
And I think that our culture here and the other coaches and other programs here at Crimson have like done that. So it's not me, and it's not Kyle, it's not Mike, it's not the other coaches I have here. It's the coaches that the kids get to rub shoulders with in the hallways, or the administration that has been, like, you're the right guy for the job.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to let you do your thing.
Yeah.
With the understanding you're not doing anything that you shouldn't be, but the administration has been super supportive. So it's not just here, man. These guys get it from everywhere.
Yeah.
You get it from their classmates. Be like, oh, that was a good game last night. Oh, it was a good hit. Did you hit a double last night? Or, biology teacher asks, Tyler, hey, how'd you do last night? He's like, oh, I went 3 for 4, had a double, scored a couple runs, laid down a bunt, And so there's people other than Kyle and I and Mike and the guys that get to see these boys every single day that are influenced by others to put in that work. So,
dude. Yeah, it's so good. I think about harmony sometimes. Like, people talk about balance, and I think it's kind of bullshit at the end of the day. Because I don't think you can have balance. Like, we've talked about it just barely. Like, I don't remember if it was off or on. I think a little of both, but like you and your wife, like you don't have all the time that you want to spend together. You're busy. We're talking off camera about time and how you just wish there was more time, because you would get so much more time in with your family or with your players, or to do this or that. Like, there's other things you wish you could fit in a day, probably. But it's like, there's seasons of life. You're never going to be perfectly balanced in those seasons. But instead, how can you have harmony? I think harmony is led a lot by the energy that we put into it. And when I say energy, it's not just effort. Like, I think that's a given. Like, you're going to give effort, I'm going to give effort to things. It's more the energy, like the quality of, are we leading with love towards these kids? Like, are we like leading with fear, Like, are we leading with like high energy frequencies or like low energy frequencies? Like, both are energy. But I think that one of the things that I think I'm getting at, I think makes you guys successful, is that you're in harmony together. Your energy matches. There's high effort, but there's also like this harmony where you guys trust each other and you're all playing together for the same purpose. And there's a standard. There's a high standard.
So one thing, when you kind of talk about harmony, and like, I guess there's probably a definition for it. There's probably a big perception of what harmony is, But I remember texting those guys yesterday on Easter. I texted the coaches and I texted the players, and I just told them that I was grateful for them. Like, they teach me something every day, and like sometimes, for them and even for me, like this might be the best part of their day.
Yeah.
And if they get here and I like direct that high energy or that low energy, and don't get me wrong, like we'll get after them at practice and and get upset, but it's because we expect more. But
which I think can still be high energy for sure.
Oh yeah. But I think they know how I coach too, you know. But if they're looking forward to this, and they come here and they leave and think, man, that wasn't good. Maybe not on a personal level, because you could definitely go to a practice and be like, man, I just did not practice well today. That wasn't a good day for me. But if I don't put my arm around that kid and say, dude, you're good, man.
Yeah.
It's baseball. It's tough. You're good. You're going to get through it. Just keep grinding. Keep putting in the extra work. Or, you know, we don't get to yell, you know, here at home play. And, you know, if I don't tell all these guys I love them, or give a couple kids a hug, you know, every couple days, you know, after every home run we hit, I started this a couple years ago. Like, I'll make sure I meet that guy before he gets back in the dugout and give him a hug.
Yeah.
You know? So, and I think I see these guys giving each other hugs all the time too, you know, and that's something that, you know, maybe shows a different, you know, embrace and how they feel about each other, or
for sure.
But yeah, man, like this is one of the best places on earth.
Yeah.
Baseball field.
I know.
It's definitely one of the best sports on the planet.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm biased, but yeah, man, if you come out here, man, you're looking for this to be that outlet, for that time to be like, man,
yeah,
I'm just glad I was doing homework for 2 hours, or I was at work for 3 hours before I got to practice. Like, and for me, sometimes, you know, like I love being here. You know, there's a street for the people that aren't familiar with the area, but there's a street right above left field behind me, and people drive on that field, on that street all the time to get to their homes, because we got homes over here and homes over there. It's kind of like a segue to, you know, different places or whatever. But we drive on this street all the time because my wife's brother lives over in this neighborhood, and I drive past it and I look at the field all the time. Carla goes, she's hideous. or, you know, or something like that. And it's just like, there's this, you know, I don't know, man, there's something different about it. But if the boys don't come here and they don't feel like they're being loved,
yeah,
they don't feel like they're being cared for, man, like that's where you just don't feel like you said, you don't feel like you're in harmony.
So there's that harmony where they can put that energy into the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And in the practice, like, it leads in everywhere in their life. Like, I think I also said off camera with you, I think the other day, it was like, people say how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I don't think that's true. I think it's how you do one thing that you care about is how you do everything you care about. But how do you get somebody to care about baseball? I think it's the energy. I think it has so much to do with that. Like, if your coach cares and there's love there, but there's also like, you chew their butt off the next second if they're not showing up, that's still love to me.
Yeah.
Like, there's high energy being put in, like, you care about these kids. And so then that, I think, breeds a culture of we care. Mm-hmm. You know, we give a shit at the end of the day here at Crimson to be able to go perform and do the best that we can. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I said something. I've said this before. I can't remember the last time I said it, but, you know, I'll coach these guys the same. Kyle will do that. Mike will do that. Derek will do that. Ryan, you know, all these guys on the coaching staff are going to coach these guys the same, but man, I can't treat them the same.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's a unique thing to be able to have as a coach, is because.
Have you noticed that year to year?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I put my arm around another guy, but another guy, like, I don't. Like, I can get in him a little bit. I can, you know, and some kids respond a little bit differently, but I don't know. I think they all understand, like, what we're trying to accomplish here. And, you know, if I get on a guy, like, even the guy that I didn't get on, he's kind of standing there next to him, be like, oh man, coach is getting after him. Like, I know exactly why.
Yeah.
You know, and he may go over and be like, hey, you know, give him a tap on the butt, be like, you're good, man. Go get him the next time. So
yeah,
it may not always be the case. Like, I know that there's some frustration sometimes, you know, but dude, we're playing one of the hardest games on the planet, one of the best and hardest games on the planet. And, you know, you asked earlier, like, you know, how do you get a kid to, I can't remember what you said. You were like, how do you get a kid to
perform or show up? Or,
dude, how do you get a kid to perform on a Friday night after Tuesday going 0 for 4?
Yeah.
You know? Dude, I don't know. You know, I can't even answer that question other than the fact that like you hate losing.
Yeah.
And you love the competition and you know you're better than that. Like you can go 4 for 4 off one of the best arms in the, you know, in the region or one of the best arms in the state. And then, you know, the week after that, you see a guy that's, you know, decent or less than decent. He just carves you up, you know, but then you come back the next day to get after it. I don't know the answer to that question other than the fact that like people don't like losing. People like winning.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of those guys.
We haven't talked about this before ever. And it's funny that you just brought that up twice in this podcast, but I feel the same way, that your high performers are always the ones that hate losing more than they love winning. Mm-hmm. I remember when I did door-to-door sales out in Virginia, the CEO of the company is a big company too. The pest control company I worked for, he had reps all over the country. And he came to our office and he gave us a little training for an hour. He just flew in for the day. And I remember him telling, like, we're sitting in a circle, a big circle in that room. And he just said, hey, who loves to win more than you love, like, hate to lose? Stand up. And the majority stood up in that room. It was like 80% stood up. And then he said, so who hates to lose more than they love winning? And the other 20% stood up. And then he turned to our manager and said, who are your highest performers? He's like, that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy. And it was the 20%, all of them. And so he just said, guys, I want to teach you something. I go all over the country. I talk to thousands of reps in this space. And the top performers in my company are always the ones that hate to lose. Always. It's never been different. The ones that hate to lose will always be your best sales reps. And I thought about that in baseball. I lead with that in sports all the time. In pickleball, I played professional pickleball for a little bit, and I hated to lose. I hated it. But people used to ask me, like, dude, how do you turn it on? Like, how do you you'll be at a deficit, and like, how do you come back and win? Like, how do you find a way to win? I'm just like, I hate to lose.
Yeah.
It's not about winning. I just hate to lose. You get me in a game, I'm going to come back and I'm going to beat you 11-3 in pickleball because I just hate to lose. If you got me a game, like, hey, I'll clap, but you're not going to get me again because I hate losing. I hate that feeling. It drives me.
I think the other side too, and it happens a lot in baseball, and we talk about it with our pitchers, is, you know, you get your first 2 guys out, and then there's just this like collectively like, oh. And on the other side, when you're getting beat 10-3, 9-3 in pickleball, and that other person's like, oh yes, got him. That's where that mindset changes. You know, not that they're not done with winning. Like, I think that there's a little bit of a lapse.
Slack off. You mean when you're winning that big? Yeah.
Yeah. You don't mean to do it.
No.
But there's always that breath of fresh air where it's like, oh, man, yes, I got it. And man, it happens a lot.
You relax.
You know, because
it happens a lot. Yeah.
When you get 2 outs, you know, the guy on the mound's like, that was cool. Got 2 outs and 11 pitches, but this guy's not giving up. Like, this guy's trying to get the next guy up in the on deck circle.
Yeah.
So
how do you change that though? Like, how do you?
Man, I think luck is a factor. You know, that hard ball that you hit to the shortstop that, you know, just gets under his glove, or, you know, doesn't make the best hop, or, you know, you hit a flare, ball down the right field line that catches a little bit of wind and that right fielder can't get to it. But then in pickleball, you just hit that ball and, you know, it touches the edge, not necessarily where you meant to hit it, but you got a little bit of luck right there. So I think that plays a factor, but I think it's the one that's like, man, I am not giving in right now.
Yeah.
This is not over.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that carries on to, you know, if you're playing your first game of the match in a pickleball, you got to play another one.
Yeah.
And however you did in that game carries over to the next one.
For sure.
And if I got 1, 2, 3 and I threw 15 pitches, you bet your butt like that carries over to the next inning.
Yeah. With
a little bit of confidence and a little bit of swagger. So I think it's just bearing down and not giving in to that other person, because there is a change in mentality.
Yeah.
When somebody's up.
Yeah.
You know? And we've done that a couple times as a team this year, where it's like, God, no breaks. I tell them in the dugout, no breaks. Not pushing the brakes.
I was just gonna ask that. Like, what do you do when because you could be on both sides of it. Like, if you're winning by a lot, like, how do you keep the energy high? And if you're losing and you got to catch up, like what's your, like, what do you process as a coach? How do you help your guys?
I mean, it's a no give up mentality. Like we're here to, step on somebody. I don't care if it's 10-0.
It's not basketball.
No, like
you can dunk on them.
Yeah. It's yeah. And there is this thing too, where it's like, there's these unwritten rules, like don't steal when you're up by 10.
But it's hard in baseball because it's happened before where people can be up by 7, 8 and they lose.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's these unwritten rules and some things you're not supposed to do. But I think that where that comes from is like, I can say as much as I want to the guys in the dugout when we're at a deficit or we're up, say no brakes, gas pedal all the way. Like they're at our yard. Like we're not leaving tonight unsatisfied. Like we're going to step on their throats type of mentality. But I think at that point I can say as much as I want to, and I call my dugout the 10th man. Like our dugout is great.
Mm-hmm.
Almost borderline annoying sometimes. And I look at them and I'm like, you guys are so annoying.
But it's energy.
But we stay on our guys.
Yeah.
Like we're good that way. But like I said, Kyle can say what he wants. I can say what I want. Mike can say what he wants. Ryan, Derek, all the other coaches can say whatever they want. But if those guys are in the dugout and they believe it, there's a couple of guys in there that are just being a little bit louder than the other ones. Like, yeah, man, that changes the mentality too.
Totally.
So, how do we keep that mentality? I don't know. It's a tough question to ask, but I think it's got to be contagious.
Yeah.
One person, can't create that.
Yeah.
A bunch of people got to. So
yeah, I agree. I used to think about that all the time back in high school baseball. I was like, if anybody on the team goes up to the plate with just a little bit more energy, if somehow as a team collectively we have more energy, it's going to transfer into that individual. And if they just have a little bit more at the plate, it's the difference in rolling over a ball, hitting a line drive for a double. Like, I mean, we're talking just not even an inch, right? Like we're talking just barely anything. And that a lot of times is just energy. And I think of just times when I was up to bat when maybe I just was a little bit lax and I just missed the ball, right? Like we all have times like that where it's like, man, why wasn't I there? Why wasn't I present? Why was I just kind of ho-hum? And the times where I felt like I had the most energy but was not in my head at all, just experiencing and just like, I'm just going to freaking rake this ball. Like that, It's not really like the words are going through. It's more of a feeling, you know? Yeah. That's when I always played the best, is when nothing was really in my mind, but I just had all this energy that was just like, and the team was behind it too.
Yeah.
And if the team's dead, it's hard to get up. I don't know. It just is.
It's body language and mannerisms. Like when you got one of the best hitters in your lineup up to the plate and he gets out.
Yeah.
Like, how did he get out? Like he got out on a pitch that he normally doesn't swing at, or a pitch he normally rakes, or like he lines one out right to the second baseman and he walks back to the dugout like, oh dude, like you got out, man. Like it's part of baseball. It wasn't the best at bat you've ever had, but I think that talk about contagious. When your best hitter walks back to the dugout and he's, like that, those guys in that dugout are like, oh man.
Yeah, they don't want to stand up to that. They don't want to tell him, hey, you got it.
Yeah.
But they don't want to get punched in the teeth.
Yeah, but it's like the guys are,
yeah.
Oh, how do we act now that our best players, doing
they mirror it, right?
Yeah. We got some really good guys in our lineup, man, that, that they can do some really good things at any moment. And I think that body language and mannerism, man, we talked about it, and it's big. Like, it's real.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll end with this. This week you got Snow Canyon. Who's going to win?
Oh, man. They're tough, man. They're tough. Of course, I like
Tuesday and Friday. So Tuesday here. Friday at Snow Canyon.
Yep. Friday night.
What do you
lights.
see? Who's pitching? What call the games. What's going to happen?
I can't give up too much information, but
you guys already know, right? Though.
Yeah, they're a tough team, man, and they're well coached. And like I said, Reed's one of my best friends, and we talk.
But you got to admit, like when you're playing against him, you're all in. Like you're like, I've just step on this rope, and then after we can be friends again, kind of.
Yeah.
Thing.
There's nobody that I like.
But he's thinking the same thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's got his guys ready, and we'll be ready too. But there's nobody that I like competing against more
Then Reed.
than Reed. Because I feel like, and not that I don't compete, like competing against, the other coaches in the region or my boys competing against their players, but because, but I think what you get from me, I think I got a lot from Reed,
Mm.
And so, I kind of know what he's going to do sometimes and how he's going to react. And so, I don't know. It's just fun competing against him. I'm not close to any other coaches like that in the region. We talk often, through text or whatever and stuff, but not like Reed and I. So, I mean, yeah, I think we'll give them a run for their money.
You're there
I
to
think
win.
We got a good squad, man, and
you were telling me too. Between the two teams, how many guys have already committed to go play college ball? Between the two teams,
I think there's probably 10.
Jeez.
I think he's got 5 or 6. 6 maybe. I think we've got 4 or 5. Some guys that are, on some radars still that haven't, committed, that are having some really good springs. But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing about region. I mean, Dixie's got 5 or 6. Pineview's got, I think, 2 or 3. So every single night you come out to a baseball game in Southern Utah, like you're watching guys that are going to be playing at the next level, and you don't get to see that often.
Yeah.
I read this somewhere, and I'm sure you have too, but like the percentage of high school athletes that go on to play college is very slim.
Yeah.
So every single night on a Tuesday and Friday night, you're coming out watching college baseball players.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
And it's fun to coach those guys. It's fun to compete against those guys. And, as much as we're like on a Tuesday, when we're facing, Ridge Erickson from Dixie and, and he's back here, he's their catcher and he's great. He's going to BYU. You were going to face Andrew Shakespeare from Pineview, who's going to Glendale Community College. And, those guys kind of beat you up on a Tuesday or Friday night. Next year when those guys are playing, man, I'm excited to see what they're doing, because I'm like, man, my guys got to play against those guys.
Yeah.
I got to see those guys on a Tuesday and a Friday night do their thing, and now seeing them, do it at the next level. Not a lot of people get that chance. So, and then, for our guys too, we've got Parker Andrus, who's not going to go play baseball. That guy's going to go play football at SUU next year. He's our starting first baseman. Our starting center fielder is going to go play football at BYU, So I get to watch those guys next fall. I get to stay up on those guys, doing something different.
That's cool.
But yeah, man, it's a good group, fun place to be.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if we can go here. Actually, I said that was the last thing, but I got one more. In the last 10 years, I don't think Pineview has won a championship.
Yeah.
They haven't.
Yeah. No, they have.
They did.
Yeah.
When?
They won back-to-back. Actually, my pitching coach, Mike Gargano, was the head coach.
And they
at
won.
Pineview when they won back-to-back.
Do you remember what years?
2012, 13, and 14. Shoot, I can't remember. But yeah, Pineview's
It's just been a minute.
Yeah,
been a minute.
They had a great team, man. They had a ton of
Because before that, I mean, I remember they'd have some good players like Marcus Littlewood was a stud.
Yeah.
And his brothers are still pretty good, and some others, but they never could quite put it together.
Yeah.
And I just have always wondered why is Pineview kind of in a funk? Because even Desert Hills can pull together some squads, but it seems like it's been you guys, Snow Canyon, and Dixie. Like the baseball down here. But I guess I stand corrected. Pineview won it 9-10 years ago, whatever.
No, they were good, man. And they still continue to they're playing really good baseball right now.
Yeah.
They played Snow Canyon last week, and the first game they played I think it was at Pineview, it was 6-3. It was tied up 3-3 there going into the 5th or the 6th inning. So, I mean, like I said when we first started talking, like every single week, it's a grind.
Yeah, you never know.
And there's some teams where you're like, man, they could be better, or they're down in this position, or they don't have this type, this going for them or whatever. But I mean, you still can't overlook them.
Yeah, for sure.
It's still tough because it is baseball.
Yeah.
It's not like, one run. Man, that's kind of a big deficit in baseball.
Yeah,
because you got to get a base hit, you got to get another base hit, you got to get another base hit. that's 3 base hits. How many times can you string together 3 base hits?
A lot of it's pitching too, like who's on the mound.
Yeah.
If you have a tough pitcher in the region, I feel like in the last couple of years, I've been so impressed with how many guys are throwing 90. Like, what the heck? Like, everybody's throwing 90 now down in this region. That's tough to get hit. And then they come in with a 80-mile-an-hour junk, whatever they're throwing. It's like you're in high school.
One of the hardest things to do in sports,
it's
man.
Tough.
Again, another biased comment on baseball, but, the 3 hardest things that I think separate athletes is hitting a 90-mile-an-hour baseball. Obviously dunking a basketball, is difficult. You have to have some athletic ability. And then the other one I think would just be, like weight room stuff. Like, are you physically talented enough to bench 225? All of those things are big time separators, but I don't know. It's baseball's hard, man.
Yeah.
Baseball's tough.
That's why it's fun.
Yep.
It's fun to watch. Well, dude, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for letting us come out on the field and doing this podcast here. Wish you guys luck. I was saying off camera too, me and Corinne have a babysitter on Tuesday, so we're going to try and make it over here. We'll have the little one with us, but it'd be fun. We live 5 minutes away from here, so it'd be fun to just come over and get a hot dog or a hamburger and just sit up, post up, watch the game.
It's going to be packed, man. There's going to be a ton of people here. It's going to be fun.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, dude.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, appreciate you.
All right, guys. Hey, if you felt like you got value from this, make sure to share it. Share it with your friends. We're going to post some reels about it too. This is a fun podcast for me because growing up, that was all I did is baseball. Since then, I've done some other things athletically or in business or whatever, but it just is fun to be here at the baseball field. I appreciate you guys listening this far. I appreciate all of your support, and we'll see you in the next one.